So extreme ownership. I say this one to begin with because somebody that takes extreme ownership not only then takes ownership of where they're moving towards, they also take ownership of how they maybe have let themselves down, where they've tripped up, where they self-sabotage, where they can show up even more fully. If you don't take ownership of yourself, you can't help yourself. And if you think that the only way to have the life of your dreams is to, and just to be like the best version of yourself is for somebody else to help you, like that is problem number one. Because now you are outsourcing your power. You are playing the victim. You are literally diminishing your own power and confidence and ability to self-heal and to show up for yourself and to get what you want. So like, whilst I do care what's happened in your past, for the sake of what I'm about to say, I don't care what's happened in your past. I don't care if you're having a shit day. How can you show up for yourself, even if it's in the smallest of ways? How can you completely disconnect from this like victim savior complex? How can you step out of the wounded feminine or wounded masculine? Because no one, really feels that good about themselves when they're just constantly outsourcing their power or playing the victim. And if you do feel better about yourself by playing the victim, you feel better about yourself because it's basically taking the the ownership off yourself. So it's like, oh, great. I can just blame everybody else for my problems because it's not actually me. It's them. The reason why I don't have the life that I want is actually because of them, not myself. Incorrect. Brr, incorrect. Like buzzer, incorrect. The reason why you don't have what you want is not because of anybody else. It's because of yourself. Other people might have made it harder. 100%. But how you engage with those people, how you think about those people, what you do with those people, whether you disconnect from them or stay connected to them, how you communicate with them, how you do or do not draw boundaries with them, that is what determines your level of success. Your success is based on you and you only. The only person responsible for getting what they want in their life is you. That is it. Obviously hard when you're under the age of 18, but we're all over the age of 18 here. So once you are an adult, the only person responsible for you is you. And if you are continuously blaming other people, you are not helping yourself. So don't expect to get what you want. Don't expect to feel good about yourself. Don't expect to feel high vibe. Don't expect to feel confident and peaceful and stable in your body, mind, and soul. You will never feel that way if you are blaming other people or outsourcing your sense of safety or your sense of power or your sense of emotional regulation. Successful people, they take extreme ownership for their actions, for their decisions in life. Even that can include the things that they wish they didn't fucking do. They take ownership of it rather than blaming. They have self-compassion even in that ownership, okay? They take ownership of their outcomes. They take ownership of everything instead of blaming external people or circumstances. Because when you have this mindset of things are harder for me because of blah, guess what? Things become harder for you because of blah. And the reason why this happens, like victimhood is self-harm. Victimhood is self-harm. And I say victimhood is self-harm because you are harming yourself in the sense that you are telling yourself that you cannot get what somebody else can get because of whatever it is that you're telling yourself. So what happens with victimhood is we tell ourselves, for example, because I'm this age, or because I've had this thing happen in my life, or because I grew up here, or because of the way that I look, whatever it is, because of that, I can't get what somebody else can. What you're then doing is you are telling your reticular activating system, filter in all of the information that proves that to me and filter out everything that proves otherwise, right? And so then what happens is you start to pretty much only see a reality that proves that to you, only sees a reality that proves that to you. And you start not seeing a reality that doesn't prove that to you. That's how our reticular activating system works. Really quick metaphor, like a really quick example that like it's a metaphor, whatever, that most people know. You've never seen this car before. You go buy this car and now everyone's driving the car. Everyone was already driving the car. It's just that you didn't see it because it wasn't deemed as important to your reticular activating system. It doesn't matter whether it's positive or negative. If you have deemed it as important, AKA, I can't get this because of XYZ, that is what you are going to see. That is how our brain works. It has to work like that because we see so much every day. So we have to naturally filter in what we deem as important and filter out what we deem as not as important, right? But you're deeming it as important or not. So there was actually this study done that I'm going to summarize for you guys. I heard about it in a podcast, so I looked it up so I could then tell you guys about it. And it literally proves this idea that if you believe something is wrong with yourself, you will then have a different experience, even if that person is not seeing what you're seeing. So there was this SCAR experiment by Robert Kleck, Dartmouth University. It was done. The participants, 27 male, 21 female, they were told that the experiment was meant to observe if people behave differently towards those with scars on their face. So the participants were placed into rooms with no mirrors, and the makeup artist, they drew like these scars on their face. After the scar was drawn, they were given a short glimpse of like what they looked like with a mirror of like, okay, they now have this like massive scar on their face, blah, blah, blah. And the participants were then invited to leave the room and interact with the other people in the building, or it was an interview or something like that. And before they left the room, the makeup artist just told the participants that they needed to just like do some final touch-ups of the scar. But what the makeup artist actually did was they wiped the makeup off. They took the scar away from their face. So the participants left the room thinking they still had this scar on their face, right? So they left the room thinking that they had this, ugly thing on their face, essentially. They then overwhelmingly reported back so they went out and mingled, right? They overwhelmingly reported back that people stared at their scars, they interacted with them differently, and they were mean and rude to them. But as we all know, they didn't even have the scar on their face. So what this is telling you is like what you then believe about yourself. That is what you then hear. It is what you see. It is what you get. The people weren't, though, necessarily mean to them or rude to them. They would have behaved the same had they had the scar. Or, I mean, we actually don't know how they would have behaved if they had the scar, because they didn't have the scar. But because these participants believed that they had this ugly thing on their face, not that the scar is ugly, but you know what I'm saying? Because they believed that, guess what? Their experience then proved that because of their scar, they were treated differently. So if you're walking around, because of this, I'm less fortunate. Because of this, it's harder for me to do this. Because of this, I'm not as productive. Because of this, I can't get this thing in my life. That is what you will get. You will feel as though things are harder for yourself. So the extreme ownership part of that is owning your mindset, like owning your reality, owning any victimhood right now that you're potentially playing into. Like I will catch any stories that come up in my head of, oh, because of this, it could be harder to do this. I'm like, no, it's not. What the fuck? Nope, absolutely not. And it could be the smallest thing, like, oh, because I'm pregnant, it's harder for me to do blah, blah, blah. Nope, not necessarily. Right. But that is only up to you. Not up to anybody else. It is only up to you.